This next session is an example of the solution-focused approach. And the featured therapist, or counselor in this case, is a colleague of ours, Chi Pham, who is a school counselor in a high school setting.
I think solution-focused is often a very great theory for school counselors to use. It's because solution-focused therapists believe that people are constructing their own reality.
Exactly. And which is, one of the points I think that solution-focused counselors make is that, well, since people are constructing their own reality, why don't we just focus it and move it toward the positive and towards strengths and towards solutions, which I think is one of the reasons why solution-focused therapists often come across as sort of persistently and maybe even relentlessly positive.
Right. Yeah, they're using all sorts of different techniques, but it's always to focus on the positive, on the strengths, and on the choices that people can make that direction.
In this case, Chi is using some of those techniques with Tesla, who's an 18-year-old senior in high school.
And she's struggling with the perennial problem of choosing college. So let's watch a little.
So I just want to hear from you first. So after our session, how would we know that we had a good session?
If I could, I'd like to, if not have my decision made, but I'd like to have a clear idea of how I can make my decision.
Okay.
That would be ideal.
And so what kind of decision are we talking about here?
I need to decide between two schools for next year going to college.
All right. So you mentioned feeling guilty about making a choice to go to Richmond, which is really expensive, and you're wondering if it's worth the money. So let's say on a scale of 1 to 10, and 1 being like no guilt at all, you feel really comfortable, and then 10 being like gut-wrenching guilt, it's paralyzing, you can't imagine doing it. About where would you say on that scale are you at right now?
So, like a 7.5.
7.5.
Yeah.
And tell me about that guilt feeling.
Well, I just feel like I'm closing doors for other people. And I feel like I'm being really super, super selfish. And I know it's for, like, a better future for me, but I don't want to, like, affect anyone else in my decision. And I'm going to. And I don't like that feeling at all. I hate feeling like I'm causing problems or like there's even a wake in what my decision is.
Okay. So how could we move that just down a little bit to, let's say, a 6? How could we reduce some of that guilt feeling?
Well, I'd like to work something out with my parents.
Okay. Tell me some more about that.
Well, if I'd like to take the weight off their shoulders, and if I could get scholarships or student loans, but then that closes doors possibly in my future. And I'd like to be able to pay for some of college, a lot of it.
Okay. So what are some possibilities? You said you can pay for some of college, you could get some more scholarships. How could you do that?
Well, I don't know if I can get scholarships this year because it's pretty late in the year, but next year I can when I'm a sophomore, I can hopefully apply for work-based scholarships. And I plan on doing that because I don't want to be a burden for my parents at all. And I'd like to apply for student loans under my name and not my parents.
Okay.
So I'd like to, and that would make me feel better.
So you got a couple ideas. You could apply for some more scholarships when you're there, because there's usually department scholarships, and you'll learn about other opportunities while you're on campus. Because it sounds like you're not getting very much financial aid this first year. And I heard about your sister, who's going to be going to school in a couple years, and so maybe by then, when you have 2 kids in college, that reduces or increases your needs, so that might qualify you for some more loans and scholarships. Okay, so let's take that even further. How can we get it down to a 5 or maybe a 4? How can we really relieve that guilt feeling so where you feel really good about your decision?
Well, I probably need to get a job and help pay for some of it.
Mm-hmm.
And if I could do that, it would be really helpful. But I'm worried because my parents don't want me to get a job, because they've always said that schooling is my job and doing well in school is my job. So I feel like I'm battling against that on two fronts, because I want to take the weight off their shoulders, but then at the same time they're like barring me from doing that.
Mm-hmm.
So if I could get a job and save up a little bit, like even if I could just pay for my books, I would feel so much better, because it's just that little extra expense taken away.
Okay. And so finding a job, maybe
Okay.
work study or summer work,
Mm-hmm.
but then you're still nervous about the school work because you're supposed to be there as a student.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's causing also you a little bit of anxiety.
Yeah. I'm nervous for the workload in school because I just don't know if I can handle it with my learning disability, and I don't know what options I have there for help.
Okay. And tell me a little bit more about your learning disability.
Well, in high school it's been easy because I'm offered so much accommodations and teachers are really forgiving, but I don't know if that'll be the same in school. And I don't want to get there and not be able to handle the work because it's above my level of comprehension, and that's a very real possibility. And if I flunk a class, my parents would not be paying for college anymore at all.
Okay. And so you managed to get through high school, or you did a great job getting through high school with some help. And it sounds like you're nervous about the workload coming up for college, which is now kind of tied in with feelings of guilt that you, I'm not sure that if this is a good choice because it's a competitive school, and that's tied in with some anxiety about your ability to do the work. But what have you done in the past when you've had those feelings? Because I'm sure those have come up before.
Yeah. I mean, like coming into high school, I didn't think I could handle what was going on at all. And I didn't sometimes.
Yeah.
Sometimes I was really not a good student, but then I had to like kick it double into gear to get back.
Tell me about those times when you felt like you were a really good student. Like, yes, I'm doing it really well.
Well, it helped that I liked my classes.
Okay.
Like this year, for example, AP Gov is the hardest class I've ever taken, but I love it. It's so interesting, and then I do the work because I want to do it, because I like it. But then when there's classes that I don't like all of my math classes that are hard for me because the dyslexia makes it really hard to do the math, and I just don't find it interesting, so I don't do well in them.
Right. So picking classes that you really like and you feel excited about, and and one of the great things about college is that you have lots of choices.
Yeah.
Right. And there's all kinds of opportunities that you haven't never seen before, right?
Yeah.
Anthropology classes and gender studies.
History of rock and roll.
History of rock and roll, right? Classes that we don't offer here in high school. And so that sounds like that might alleviate some of your anxieties, finding a place or finding classes that you really, really enjoy.
Yeah, and then I can do well in them, and I think that would help me like feel like I was getting my money's worth if I was doing well in these classes, and then therefore like proving that this is what I needed, where I should be. But I don't even know if I can do that.
Rita, I found myself really liking Chi's use of the scaling question, which is a traditional solution-focused assessment technique, but he's using it not only for assessment, but also for intervention purposes to help her shrink that guilt and anxiety a little bit.
Right, that's good. It was a good intervention because sometimes her anxiety would come up and she'd start kind of focusing on what the problems were again, and he'd bring it back.
And that's not unusual, and that's really his job to keep the momentum focused on the positive, help refocus her when she drifts off into some negative thinking.
And of course, he knows her and knows some of the strengths that he can draw on and point her toward some of her past successes.
Right, which is what he's going to do in this next segment, where he draws her even further into concrete, positive things that she can apply in her life situation in the future.
So let's look at that.
And again, tell me some times where, where you felt like a good student. So something that you enjoyed. And what about doing the homework part, or where you got excited about doing the homework or doing a project? What were some other times where you had those kind of feelings?
It helped when I had good teachers who understood where I was coming from and why sometimes things were more difficult for me. And I tried not to have anything handed to me, because that's not fair. Just because I'm dyslexic doesn't mean I deserve tons of special treatment. But it helped when I had teachers who could help me help myself.
Yeah. So part of having a good class is also having a good teacher. And again, what a great opportunity in college, because the professors are available with office hours.
Yeah.
And you can meet them before going and signing up for their class.
Yeah.
And so it seems like there's a way to find out who your good teachers are.
Yeah.
Or that you connect with, potentially.
And I know there's good opportunity to connect with programs that allow for people with learning disabilities at Richmond, so I hopefully won't have to take many math classes.
Okay. So we've identified a couple things that you can do that make you feel good as a student. And does that help with, again, on the scale from 1 to 10, where are we at now with some of these ideas?
Well, if I'm able to do well and feel like I'm working hard enough where I deserve to have my parents pay for it, then I guess it's a 4.5.
Yeah?
Yeah.
We've reduced it a little bit?
Yeah.
Okay. That's great. So you feel a little bit calmer.
Yes.
Okay. And let's go a little further.
Okay.
How would we get it down? Could we get it down to 2 or 3?
I hope so. I think
one of the things that you said in high school that was helpful is that you felt like you got a lot of support and some help. And I'm just guessing here, and you tell me, is there some worry or some feelings about not being able to find or create a support system? You're going to be halfway across the country
and
on your own, new people who don't know you.
New systems that I don't know if will help benefit me. Oh, that scares me so much.
Yeah.
I'm so nervous. In both schools, it's the East Coast. They're different than what I'm used to here, and I don't know. I feel like I'm going to a different country sometime.
Yeah. Would it be accurate at all to say kind of like when you walk on stage and there's a new audience who you don't know, and you gotta kind of convince them that this is a good show?
Yeah.
Is it at all like that?
Like doing play teasers when all the school kids come and watch, and you have to convince them in the first 30 seconds that they're going to like this show, and you can lose your audience, and that's a bad feeling.
Right. And so you've kind of been in that situation before.
Yeah.
How did you handle it then?
Knowing what was going on and taking control of the situation.
Okay.
Helping it's when you're on stage, you have to help the other actors around you and support them while doing your job acting.
Okay. So you said that you can kind of take control of the situation a little bit, and you said you kind of help the other actors. Well, how could you kind of control the situation when you walk into this new environment called college?
I think I need to ask for help.
Okay.
And not assume, while I want to be able to do this on my own, I don't know if I don't have all the information yet, and I need to swallow my pride and admit that I'm going to need a lot of help and frequently, and make friends with career counselors. And
yeah. And who are the people that can help?
well, I know that there's career counseling and there's tutoring that you can get into, and hopefully I'll make friends. And the admissions counselors, I like my admissions counselor a lot. She's really nice.
Mm-hmm.
So I need to find friends, not necessarily friends, but people who can help me, and find those fast. Be goal 1 when I get there.
There are people knocking on your door and they just want to do all kinds of things with you. And that you've got all kinds of friends and you're really popular.
I could deal with that. That'd be okay with me.
Yeah. How does that, how does that help with kind of this anxiety about making friends?
Well, it would be so much easier. I would feel so much better if I had a built-in system of people I can automatically study with.
Yeah, so I hear, so there is a fair amount of anxiety around this.
Yeah.
Where you're nervous about kind of being by yourself, and you're having to create the kind of the environment or the situation that you have here that's helped you so much over the years.
And I'm just nervous that coming from different parts of the country, at least in the culture I've grown up with, it's so open and friendly, and I'm nervous I'm going to go to a place where they're a little more cold and a little more reserved and not so willing to be open to friendships. And I just don't know how to act around people who are more reserved. And
so you're a little nervous about kind of going to the East Coast where it might feel a little bit different than where you're comfortable with.
Yeah. And I don't want to go out there and be I'm nervous to scare people off by coming into school and being this is me, I'm Tesla, I'm from Montana, blah, and be overbearing to people. That's what I'm afraid that I'll do.
But could you also see that as a really positive thing, where you are so different and coming from the Wild West, that people would be really open to that, and it would be kind of refreshing because you're different than kind of what you perceive as the East Coast?
I never thought about that. I'd like that if that was how it was, and because that would help with being, I don't want to initiate the friendships. I want to have them more open and free flowing, and if people are interested in me, that would make me feel better.
Yeah, because I hear you saying it a little bit as if it's not a strength, that it's kind of a negative to be from Montana.
Yeah.
But it's what if it were a positive, and that part of the reason you were there at school was to show people another way of being, another part of the country, to share your experiences.
Yeah.
And that is part of other people's education too, which is why colleges want geographic diversity.
Yeah.
Is that it brings in interesting ideas and different personalities, and
it gives me a conversation starter.
Conversation starter. Yeah, so what would it be like then to go into the conversations or into these interactions thinking, I have something to offer these people?
Well, I'd first have to become cocky, and I'm not cocky, so. But if I was, I could make some jokes about how we don't use outhouses in Montana. And then I can make people laugh, and I'd like to be able to do that. And I feel like that would help me a lot by attracting friends if I can get them laughing first without making a fool of myself.
Yeah.
Because that's when people get annoyed with you, if you're too boisterous.
And so I hear you're saying that you're nervous about meeting people, but you're outgoing, right? You said that you like to make people laugh.
Yeah.
And you have lots of these different interests. Tell me some more about the things that you like about yourself.
Oh, that's hard.
That are interesting, that kind of make up who you are.
I'm really, really good about caring about people. I have a lot of love that I can spew at people.
Yeah.
I have really intense motherly instincts. And I like that about myself, I guess. being able to like care for people, and I'm a good listener, I guess.
Yeah. And tell me about what it looks like when you care for other people.
It's not about like listen or about me. It's about like what I need to do for the other person, and that's the most important thing sometimes, is being able to care for other people even when you're not feeling so great yourself.
Mm-hmm.
But I feel like that's a deeper part of relationships, and I don't know how to show that to people when I first meet them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that takes some time to establish some trust. And but what I hear you saying too is that it's easier for you to take care of other people and not necessarily take care of yourself or do what feels good for you, because that feels guilty and selfish.
Yeah.
So we're kind of coming around to kind of what brought you here, right? Feeling this guilt that this is what I want to do, but I don't feel so good about that.
Yeah. Well, they're all connected a little bit, and well, I don't know. I just don't want to be selfish in any of it, because I really despise selfishness in people.
I really liked when she used the successes that he was aware of. Tesla's been in an acting situation.
Right.
She's done shows and plays.
Yeah.
And he was able to point her toward those and have her make the transition to what she was facing in the future.
Right, exactly. And I think what that does is it really helps her develop a concrete plan. He kind of was able to draw the concrete methods of coping out, like who to ask for help and when to ask for help.
Yeah, it was great. So I really think Tesla's a great candidate for solution focused, and I think it does work really well in the school setting.